Song is Born podcast, where we turn conversations into songs.
Our passion for music is thrown against a blank canvas to bring our guests' inspirations to life.
To hear their unique stories and experience the origins of a new song.
All right, welcome to Song is Born podcast. We're here for episode 8. And with us today, we've got Josh Tannen. And, I've known Josh for a few years now. And he's got a very special story to share with us today. And it's a difficult one, but, I want to make sure that, we give him the justice it deserves to tell this through and through and see what we can come up with to put some good music to it and tell a good story through that. So without further ado, welcome, Josh. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, man. Thank you.
What's up?
Thank you, guys.
So, maybe to start this, Josh, maybe you can go over a little bit of your story, what you've dealt with over the years, and kind of just share. I know you've done this before, but let's go through it one more time and start there.
I don't know, Bo. It's a pretty long story. I'll try to make it as short as I can. So before I reached the age of 13, I was diagnosed with this thing called glomerular nephritis. I actually started dialysis in September of 2001. And then June 16th of 2002, my mom donated one of her kidneys to me. And it lasts for almost 10 years. And during that time, I lived a normal, healthy life. I was not hooked up to a machine anymore, and I just had to take anti-rejection medications, and I was just loving life. And then in 2011, I started having some stomach issues. I ended up in the hospital because we were trying to figure out what was causing me to lose weight and have all these issues with upset stomach, diarrhea, throwing up. I just could not keep anything down. And they ran all these tests to see what's going on, like if it's some kind of a infection or virus, but they couldn't find anything. And after I returned from visiting my dad in St. Louis, I was in the hospital again. This time, it was because my red blood count was so low that the doctor called me and said I needed to get to the emergency room immediately and get a blood transfusion. And during that summer, being in the hospital, they noticed that my blood work was a little abnormal, so they did a kidney biopsy on the transplanted kidney, and they found that it was rejecting. They had no idea what was going on, so they were talking to my transplant doctor up in St. Louis, where I had my first transplant, which was at St. Louis Children's Hospital. And they flew me on a medical plane from Florida all the way up to St. Louis, where the nephrologist there kind of took care of me. They tried putting me on a different anti-rejection medication because they determined through a emergency bone marrow biopsy that one of the medications was causing renal toxicity. Unfortunately, despite trying a different medication, my kidneys continued to fail to the point where the week before Halloween in 2011, I ended up in the hospital because I was having a hard time breathing, and I was really, really coughing hard. So my dad, I was staying with him in St. Louis at the time. He took me to the hospital where they noticed that my oxygen level was really low. So they intubated me, and then like 3 days later, I woke up in the ICU, which was the first time in 3 days I became alert, because I guess I was in a medically induced coma for 3 days. I don't remember anything between Tuesday night and Friday morning in the ICU. And my mom flew from Panama City Beach to St. Louis, and she spent a little time with me in the hospital. And then after a week in the hospital, I switched to dialysis because they had started dialysis when I was out of it the week before Halloween, which was called hemodialysis, which I had this catheter in my chest, and they connected 2 lines to a machine, which basically took my blood out to the machine and cleaned it and then filtered it back in. And then I had to go to an outpatient dialysis center. And then in January of 2012, I actually started a different type of dialysis, which is the dialysis that I'm currently on now, called peritoneal dialysis. I have a catheter in my groin area where I connect to a machine every single night for 10 and a half hours. But thankfully, it's while I sleep
While
during
you're
the
sleeping?
day. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I have more flexibility during the day than if I was doing an in-center dialysis session, because that's like a 3.5 hour thing. You just sit there, you can't move around at all, and just like sitting there being really bored. And actually, we moved to Phoenix from Panama City Beach, where I got on the list there. Unfortunately, my mom noticed some enlarged thing on my belly, and they determined it was a huge tumor. It caused my dialysis to not work properly. My blood pressure was up. Everything was squished to one side of my belly. So what they did was they had a nephrectomy. They removed my right native kidney as well as the transplanted kidney with that tumor. Fortunately, it was benign, but it caused a lot of problems.
Wow.
And then after they removed it, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, in which when I came here to Tampa, the cardiologist said that I needed to strengthen my heart before I would be able to get on the transplant list. So I had to start taking some medication, and like less than a year later, I went back to the cardiologist after getting a couple of echocardiograms that had a good enough ejection fraction number, and I actually got on the list. And so I've been waiting so far for a kidney for 10 and a half years, been on the list at Barnes in St. Louis, Shands in Panama City Beach, or Gainesville, I should say. And I actually did get the call for a kidney when we lived in Panama City Beach, but it was a high-risk donor kidney, and I wasn't sure if I should take it because it was from a drug overdose victim, and I didn't know if it would be a good kidney for me. Got enlisted at Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, and then finally when we moved here to Tampa, I got enlisted at Tampa General, which I love. They're good people there.
Now, just a question about the being on the waiting list at different facilities. How does that work in terms of if you were on the list at one facility and then you kind of transferred over to another? Does it?
Do you have to start over?
Yes, they have to send the records. Oh, so when I went from Mayo Clinic to Tampa General, they had to send some records over. And I had to start the evaluation process because it was a different center that I was trying to go to.
Man.
And just to kind
And to make things worse, I have a high antibody thing, which means it's a difficult match. So either I'm going to have to get a deceased donor kidney or someone to do a pair kidney program, which is very hard to explain. But in other words, I have to find someone that wouldn't be a compatible donor, but is still willing to donate to somebody who is. So if someone said, okay, they want to get tested and see if they would qualify for the pair kidney list, then what would happen is if they got accepted, then I and that lady or that man or whoever would go on this list, and a computer would determine like who could get my living donor's kidney and whose potential living donor I can get.
So let
It's
me
kind of
step.
complicated.
Let me step back a little bit. You said you had I think was it nephrectomy? Is that the removal of your kidneys?
Nephrectomy. Yes.
Nephrectomy. Okay. So you don't have kidneys currently. That's why you have to do the dialysis
I
every
have
night.
my native left kidney, but that is not
Oh,
working
okay.
anymore either. So,
Wow. So that's why you have to do
but
it every
yeah,
night.
And to step back even
10
further,
and a
so
half
when
hours.
you were first diagnosed with kidney disease, I remember reading that was partly due to, or maybe totally due to, some medications that ended up causing that. Is that the case initially?
Yeah, yes. It seems that my nephrologist in Panama City Beach did not do very good of monitoring my medication level. In other words, like they didn't know it was too high because they didn't monitor it. And if they knew it was too high, they would have probably been able to lower the dose of that medication. And it got too high that it just was way too toxic, causing some issues with my kidney.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And I think they're going to plan to put me on the same medication post transplant, but hopefully they'll do a better job of monitoring it so I don't have any issues with
Right.
it. And hopefully it'll last even longer than 9.5 years like the first time.
And obviously, I would assume that you're more hopeful for getting into or getting a transplant through that pair kidney program, given that the
Yes.
lifetime of a living donor is significantly higher than that of a cadaver kidney. Is that right?
Yes.
Approximately, do you know how long, what the difference would be?
No, but my living donor kidney should have lasted a little longer than it did because it came from my
Right.
mom. And the thing is, living donor kidneys usually work immediately after they are put in, whereas a deceased donor kidney may require a few weeks to a few months to actually wake up, in which means I would have to be on dialysis until my kidney wakes
Right.
up.
Is the dialysis process,
And so
is
the
that
list-
sustainable with what you're doing every night?
Yes. I mean, living on dialysis is not ideal. Ideal is getting a transplant because 20 people a day die while waiting for a kidney transplant. There are people on the list that may never get a kidney because the list is just so long.
Do you have any idea of like how high up you are on the list after, I think you said like 10 years now, right? You've been.
Yeah, about 10 and a half. This October will be 11. The problem is, like I said, my antibody count is high, which means that it's a lot harder to find a match. And that's why I've been waiting for so long. I do have this thing called national priority on the list. I can basically get a kidney that's a match from anywhere in the 48 states. Although I don't feel like I have the national priority because I've been waiting for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think
It's hard.
that
The dialysis is not the hardest part. It's the wait for a kidney.
do you
Yeah.
think the wait
Because I don't want to die while waiting for a kidney.
do you think the wait has been so long because they see it as like a negligible risk because of your body's ability to reject it?
Well, they just want to find the best kidney for me, given the fact that it's a difficult match. They don't want to give me a kidney that is likely to fail quickly. But I do know that people that have high antibodies, which is referred to as highly sensitized or high sensitivity, that they do get kidneys. So it's only a matter of time. And they said, it's really hard to find a match being highly sensitized. And I've known that for a long time, but I'm trying as hard as I can to find a donor to try to do the living donor thing, so I've had chance for a living donor as well as a deceased donor kidney. I'm trying to keep my options open, give myself as much of a chance to get a kidney as possible.
So you've been waiting so long because not only do they have to find one that's compatible with you, your blood type, maybe even your genetics, but also your high antibody count. So it's even harder. It's one more thing they have to look for in order to find a compatible kidney.
And the reason for that is because my previous transplant and I've had a lot of blood transfusions. As a matter of fact, I've almost died a couple of times. Like after the nephrectomy, I didn't tell you this, but I ended up going under another time because they saw that my blood pressure was crashing and I had some complications. And when they took me down to the OR during the middle of the night, they determined that some blood thing had popped and I was bleeding internally. So I lost some blood, forcing them to have to give me another blood transfusion.
Wow.
So that was rough. But when I woke up the next morning, like I had lost all sense of reality. I didn't know what was real and what was not because of all the things that I had gone through in that last 24 hours, all the complications and being put under twice. So obviously that general anesthesia is so powerful that it makes you lose your marbles. I remember, I think I was saying to my mom, is this real or am I asleep in my bed with my fan on or something? And I accidentally hit my mom and some nurse because I was losing my mind.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a
So
trying time for sure.
So
it was rough.
how does your condition affect your day to day? Other than like you obviously you have to hook up to a dialysis machine at night, but when you wake up in the morning, you disconnect from it and then you go on about your day. What's that like? How does your condition affect your day to day life?
Well, for one thing, it makes me appreciate life a little more because being on dialysis and worrying about dying because this is a life-threatening condition, worried that next morning I'm not going to wake up. Also, I always wake up wondering if that day will be the day that I'm going to get a kidney. I mean, I try to live my life as normal as possible and try to, be happy and just not act like anything's wrong, Everyone knows how positive I act and I am despite my situation. In other words, I try to make the best of it. And my mom has been so good about helping me. She makes sure that I'm feeling okay and helps me if we need to take care of something.
Yeah,
That's so valuable. That's so awesome to have somebody in your life like that.
Not everyone's that lucky to have a mom that is willing to help them like that.
For sure.
So, in terms of your day to day or your week to week, talk a little bit about what you're doing. I think it's a couple days a week, right? That you're that you're working at the nearby facility.
Yes, the Dunedin Hospital. I work in the doctor's building there, and I actually do two different things. One is work at the front desk in the lobby. I help people with directions and give them a mask if they forgot theirs. I also work in the outpatient lab, which is right next to the front desk, and I get people checked in for their appointments and put them in for their blood work, like whether they have an appointment or not. And I have to give them an ID bracelet with their name and date of birth because it's required, and do whatever else I need to do to help. Like today in the lab, I asked someone, because I guess she had CPD or something, if she needed a wheelchair because she was out of breath and struggling to walk. So I got her a wheelchair, and the volunteer that was at the front desk wheeled her out to her car.
Yeah, that must be very rewarding for you, and I'm sure a lot of those people that you help from a day-to-day standpoint, you can empathize with them because you've dealt with so much of this most of your life, and being in those facilities and going through that, those people are lucky to have you there to help them through that. And
yeah,
you've been dealt a difficult hand in life, and from every time I've met you and hung out with at my mom's house, you've always got this uplifting spirit, and you just bring everyone else up too. So it's just true testament to your life and persevering through all the difficulties that you've had. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's just amazing. And
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, what is it that helps keep that spark of optimism in your life? Is there something, that you're passionate about? Is there something that just helps you keep your mind off of things? What's keeping that spark alive for you?
You mean other than the volunteer stuff?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, anything that brings the optimism into your life.
Oh, I love going out to eat. Like, I love going to Draft House and this place in Dunedin called Prohibition Kitchen. They have good barbecue. And this place called BJ's Brew House at the Countryside Mall. I love going for walks. I love going and looking at the water, and love going to his mom's house to swim and spend time with her. Go with my friend out to eat because we go every couple weeks. She lives kind of next door to me in a different complex, but she and I are buddies. We love to hang out and go on outings. And my mom and I love hanging out. And
it seems like you and your mom have a great time. Like, you've got a very strong bond together, and always laughing and just hanging out, and that's really really nice to see too. Is that she's essentially your first hero, and you're looking for the next hero, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I always have a positive attitude that my kidney is going to come soon. And I've been ready for such a long time for it to happen. And all needs to happen is getting a kidney.
So for anyone listening to this, that obviously it's a very big ask to give up a kidney, but I think that there's also a lot of misconceptions out there too, that you necessarily need two kidneys, or your life will be significantly worse without that second kidney if they were to consider going into. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that, because I'm sure quite a bit of misconceptions, and maybe clear some of that stuff up.
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people don't think much about it because they're not in that position. Like, they don't know anyone and they don't really feel the need to even consider doing anything like that. Plus, I think if they had maybe more information, if they had maybe researched it, I think they would find that it's a big process, but it's a very, very simple thing. When my mom donated one of her kidneys to me in 2002, her recovery was so easy. She was back at the gym pretty quickly after the donor surgery. And the other misconception is a lot of people think that a transplant is a cure. It's not. It's a treatment like dialysis. Because a transplanted kidney will only last a certain amount of years. It won't last forever. And eventually it will fail. And I would have to go back on dialysis and wait for another transplant. And I would just love to say to people out there, it's a very easy process. Yes, it's a big commitment. But I know there are people out there that would say, you know what, I'm perfectly healthy and I can live with one kidney, because people, I think that's the other part of the problem. People think that they need two healthy kidneys to live a normal life. Not true. My mom only has one kidney and she's living a perfectly normal life. You only need one good kidney to live. And I think if someone has a kidney that they could spare that would really, really, really help me, I would appreciate it. I mean, 10 and a half years waiting for a kidney and being on dialysis for 10 and a half hours a night is a lot to have to deal with. And I'm just ready for a miracle that I've been praying for and hoping for a long time. And I have tried so many things to try to find a donor. And it'd be nice if there were people out there that would say that even though that they know it's a commitment, that it would be very rewarding for them to help someone in need. Someone that is needing an organ to allow them to live a much longer life than on dialysis, because being on dialysis, you don't live as long as a transplant. So I'm trying so hard not to live the rest of my life on dialysis and get a kidney, be free from dialysis, feel a lot better than I do now on dialysis, and be healthier and just feeling, oh man, without this gift, because it's truly a precious gift to get a kidney. It allows you to live a much longer life than on dialysis.
What's one thing or maybe a couple things that you within the first week of getting let's say you got a kidney transplant, and you recovered and everything. What's one of the first things that you'd want to do after that took place that maybe you can't really, or you haven't been able to do over the last few years?
Well, I've told my mom that after I get a transplant, I want to take a trip to London
Ooh, nice.
or somewhere in Europe, like London or Paris or Ireland, someplace cool in Europe. Because I've always wanted to go there. I've been to Amsterdam in Germany, but I hardly remember that because it was such a long time ago.
Yeah.
But my mom said, as soon as you get your transplant, we'll go to London or somewhere like that.
What do you?
So I'll be able to travel more freely, because it's hassle to travel on dialysis.
Absolutely.
Because you have to carry the machine, get supplies sent to wherever we're going. Like if I go see my dad in St. Louis, I actually have to order some supplies from the supply company that delivers it before I get there. And I have to bring my machine, which is pretty heavy. I have to put it on like a little rolly thing. Yeah. And I have to put it in the overhead bin, which is hard because it's so heavy, and I can't lift anything heavy because of my dialysis catheter.
Wow.
And you also you're working out quite a bit too, going on walks, and I think you go to the gym a lot too, right?
I don't go to the gym anymore because I'm always busy, but I jump on a little trampoline that I have, do some bounces on that. And unfortunately, due to the heat and humidity, I haven't been able to go for a walk. Although I do walk to work and home. That's not too bad. But
you can still swim, right?
Right. Like I swim at your mom's pool because I can only swim in private pools because of my dialysis catheter. I guess they're worried about it being community pools. So that's one of the reasons I look forward to going to your mom's.
Gotcha.
And I swim like a fish.
I've,
You should see me swim in her pool.
I have.
Like I'll swim like from the bottom, like from one end to the other and back underwater. I don't come up for air. I do handstands. I flip. I just have so much fun. That's like the best exercise I get this time of year. When the weather's nice, though, I do enjoy my walks.
Are you able to go to the beach at all? And go swimming in the ocean?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I haven't done that in probably a year or two.
Gotcha.
I just can't stay out in the sun or humidity too long or I'll feel sick. I guess I'm sensitive to the heat and humidity.
Gotcha.
If I stay out too long, so that's why I try not to go to the beach very much.
Yeah, living in Arizona and Florida are not conducive to that.
Yeah, dry heat, over 100 degrees, and no water, cactus, desert.
Well, you're in the right place. The heat makes people drop like flies. So.
Jeez. So Josh, do you listen to any music?
Yes, I like soft rock and pop and country music. And in like the holidays, I like to listen to holiday music, you know?
I heard you were a bit of
I
a
like the
Sinatra fan, right?
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
Very cool.
Well, here's a question.
Like when they...
when you're having a bad day, when you're just feeling like, man, this sucks, like feeling bad, and what kind of music would you listen to that would like lift you up and kind of like, you know what, I can do this. I've been doing this for a while now. Like it's just another day. Let's do this. What pumps you up? What gets you in a good mood? What kind of music?
I like the classics, like Perry Como and Bing Crosby and Sinatra. I don't know why I'm not big into the modern day singers like Lady Gaga and like Justin Bieber or any of those.
Do
I'm
you
more of a classic guy,
do you ever
old
listen
timer.
to Michael Bublé?
Yeah, I love listening to his Christmas
Yeah,
songs.
yeah, he's really good too. Very much like the new generation's Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bublé is probably the best singer these days.
Yeah, he's good. He's really, really good.
Kyle brings
Yeah.
up a good point though. Like we want to tell your story, but obviously we want to make something that's going to be uplifting for you in the long run. Something that you can turn on and get a positive effect from that song, you know? So we want to be able to tell your story, but also keep it uplifting for you. Is there anything specific that would help, help the song just kind of lighten your day? What you have like your favorite
Just like a
instruments?
happy song, like a song that um I'll leave that up to you. You guys know music more than I do, so I'm not a musician, so
Okay.
but you guys do good work because I've heard your music, so I trust you guys know what the best thing is.
Well, I think that we're like whatever genre we end up picking. I think that either way, the path we should take for this particular project would be a call to action. Like I really feel like this should help. This video, this project should be something that you could share with people to tell your story, and even maybe if it's something that we put over top of, say, like you use it later for like the music for like a video, like a little, maybe it's a GoFundMe, maybe it's just another article or a blog on another website. I feel like we should aim it to be a call to action in the video that we make and in the audio, and that's what I
Absolutely.
think.
Right,
Right? Like help
right.
Josh out. Like here's what he's about. Here's his story. Please help.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All
hmm
right.
Actually, it does sound very good.
All right. Great.
Challenge accepted.
Is there any last
Yeah.
things, any last thoughts that you'd want to include? Again, we'll reconvene after we do the song and the music video, and once that's done. But for now,
I just want to say to anyone listening, please step up and help me out. I want to live a much longer life. I want to be healthy. I want to be without having to do dialysis. I want to enjoy life more than I am able to do. I want to just feel normal. And this may sound a little weird, but I want to be able to pee again because I'm not able to pee. I haven't peed in like 6 or 7 years because you stop peeing when you are on dialysis. You don't make your urine anymore. So please, I need a hero. Anyone listening, please, please, please step up and be my hero. You can live with one kidney. Please.
Be my hero.
yep.
Be my hero. Please, I'm begging you. Save my life. 10.5 years is a long time to wait.
Yeah.
Dialysis is my life saving treatment. It keeps me alive. Without it, I would be dead. So please, save my life. I guarantee it will be really rewarding to help someone that needs an organ like me. My insurance will cover testing and surgery and hospital stay. And if you need to travel, we have programs available that could help with the funding for hotels and flights. So please hear my plea. I'm only 34 years old. I'm still pretty young. I don't want to live till I'm at least 70 or 80.
I
Please help
actually
me do that.
I actually have a story of a guy, a skydiver, a fellow skydiver that I met before I moved here to Canada. And I don't really know him very well. It was just the first interaction I ever had with this guy. And he's from Virginia. And he was telling me that his mom got really sick. And he prayed. He said, God, if you save my mom, I promise that the moment that I get the chance to save somebody else's life, I will do it. And he found out about a person. I want to say it was a kidney. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure it was a kidney. They needed a kidney. And he traveled on his own dime. He went there. He donated his kidney. He actually, apparently, like the way he told me the story was the deal that I made with God is that I would not use it to make me famous or to get me myself any sort of kickbacks or knowledge or acknowledgement or anything like that. So he went. He never met the person. They never met him. It was completely anonymous, and he just went and he donated a kidney to this person, and indirectly he has had contact with the person just to find out that they're still alive and they're doing well, but he never met them. He just gave his kidney away because he felt like it was something that it would be worth doing to kind of pay it forward that his mother survived, and now he wanted to pay that forward to somebody else who it might be somebody else's mother or somebody else's sister or whatever to help them. And I feel like that we could end on that story that pay it forward, help somebody out. You don't have to be a hero in the newspapers. Just be a hero to that person, and that'll carry on for the rest of your life knowing that you saved somebody's life.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for your time, man. We really appreciate it. All
Thanks for letting me do this.
Absolutely.
See you.
Well, welcome back to part 2 of episode 8, and we're back with Josh after we've finished the song and the video, and it's been a little while, but glad that we can reconnect and just touch base before we close off the episode. So, how's everything going, Josh?
Good. How's everything going?
Good. How'd you like the song and everything that we came up with? It was a little bit different than what we've done in the past episodes for sure.
I liked it. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Did we kind of hit the Frank Sinatra kind of vibe and what you were going for?
Yeah, something good like that.
It's funny. I had several people say it sounds like a Disney song and something from like an episode of Glee.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too.
It had a lot of Bublé inspiration for sure. You can't help it.
Yeah.
And when you're playing Sinatra in modern day, you can't help but just kind of throw a little Bublé on there.
Yeah.
And like when I was making the song, because I did it in 2 different ways. I sang into my phone because I had something that I wanted to kind of have a melody for. No regard to what music is going to be built on, to the frame around the melody of the singing and stuff. But I did it like that for the first half, and then the second half I wrote the piano part and then sang around that. So the first half of the song, the piano bit was built around the vocals. The second half is the vocals were built around the piano. And I wanted to have a nice feel to it, to where if you took everything away, all the elements, and it was just vocals and piano, and we could do a remix and just send you just a piano version. That way you have like a, what do they say, like unplugged version of the song. We can send you that too, because it sounds great with just piano and vocals too. And then we started building all the other elements of the song, adding trumpet, orchestral instruments, sound effects and all kinds of stuff. There's birds chirping, there's wind chimes, harp. We put a lot of little elements in there just to build a nice depth and have some really interesting orchestral character to the song.
Yeah, Jen and I, we ended up going on a trip for close to 10 days out east to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. We did the Cabot Trail, And so we were gone for a good period of time. So Carrie, did a lot of work, a lot of groundwork right off the start. And I remember thinking, man, there's like almost nothing really to add. There's so much in there because there's a lot of elements. And then when I got back, I kind of came up with a little intro with some strings and horns, and then I came up with the bridge part, which is like a combination of a piano and trumpet solo.
I think that bridge part was probably one of my favorite components, at least for doing the drum part. It just kind of grooved along, and it was, it just went well with the mood of the song too. It transitioned everything very, very well. Yeah. And the drums in general were tricky for sure for me, because this is just an extremely different style than I'm used to drumming to. And then not only that, but the just the way the song kind of moved along. There's different little accents and things that you kind of have to focus on to make it work well with all the instruments that are going on. So that was like a really interesting challenge for me personally, and but it was still fun to do this style of music for sure. But it's definitely something outside of our typical wheelhouse.
It's a very interesting cadence too, because it has this weird like 4/4 groove, but then it like switches out to like where you play thirds, like the da 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 da, like the thirds part. Yep. And so I remember when I heard it thinking, this is going to be a really hard groove to write drums for, because it does change a lot in that way. But man, we like when everything was kind of put together, I was like, okay, yeah, it's not that bad actually. It kind of grooves along and you can follow with it, and that's probably why it's like a Disney song, because it is so
exactly
changing, ever changing.
Well, because it had that Disney-esque sound, that was the challenge to adding drums. Because if you listen to Disney songs, a lot of them just don't have drum parts. It's just all carried through, an orchestral style song. And then I think Bo's first take kind of leaned a little more towards like a traditional rock beat, but then like the next take, he like nailed it. It was one of the fastest, at least on my end. I don't know how it was on you, but it seems like the last song we did, Rising Tide, you probably did like 7 or 8 takes before you felt like you nailed the parts. And this one, like as soon as the drums were done, like it went together really quick after that.
Yeah, it's such a trade-off too, because so with the last one, with Rising Tide, it's a not necessarily a slower song, but every note has so much impact. And if something is off just a little bit, it just feels so out of place. And I kept listening back to some of the takes, and I was like, still working out the part a little bit. And when you're doing that, like you're not going to nail the part. You have to hear it back, and you have to go back and really feel confident with what part you're playing. And then once that was worked out, it wasn't hard to do the song's an easy song to play. It's just making those notes count and being confident in what you're doing and knowing what you're doing.
Putting the right accent in the right syllable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then with this song, it was much more free flowing, but still like you didn't have necessarily the flexibility that you would with just a straight up jazz song, or like we did with Passerby, where there's much more flexibility with what I'm doing, because it needs to be in concert with everything that the trumpet's doing and the keyboard's doing and the vocals, and it's not overlapping with that. So in terms of building that drum part, it was probably a lot more time consuming for me just to go back and keep trying different things that made sense and that also felt like it worked as a natural groove and whatnot.
I also find that the way we're writing songs, because we're remote, we write songs in a very unique way, which is where, because we're all remote, one person will send a demo track, and then we'll kind of build on that. And then it's like this leapfrogging of a building of a song. So by the time one person does an instrument, the next person can't necessarily do the idea they may have had in the first iteration of the song, because now the stuff is built on top of that. And so that might change. But then we might discuss, well, maybe we leave that out and actually go with that idea instead, because I think I like that better. So it's like this leapfrogging thing where like the song has to be built in so many minuscule steps,
Exactly.
You ever play that game Telephone
span of time too?
You ever play the telephone game where you whisper something in someone's ear and then it goes around the room, and by the time it comes back, it's completely different?
Yep.
Like our recording is kind of like that, except instead of, turning into something that it wasn't, it just gets better and better, it feels like.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. One of these days, we've talked about this before we started the podcast, but one of these days we got to do like a song that, either just bass and drums to kind of start, like, make the foundation of the song, and then have you write, the guitar and lyrics based on that. Or maybe it's just an instrumental and we kind of go that route for a particular song. I don't know, but that would be fun to try out.
It's funny because you could play a game where each person writes a part and then it's locked in, like you can't change it, and then the next person has to build on that, and that's locked in, right? Yeah. And then like keep going. But that's, if you think about it, that's kind of how we do it already. Like we haven't really changed a whole lot of, like, we'll re-record scratch tracks, but just to get a better performance. But we have rarely changed what we initially start off with. We might build on it and it changes from in that way.
We
rarely
just build,
delete stuff. Yeah.
Well, a lot of that has to do with having a good solid foundation of what Carrie comes up with initially. So
yeah, we also have a limited time frame too, so we kind of roll with
working quickly.
Yeah.
So Josh, what did you think about the whole process? Did we meet your expectations in terms of, or anything surprising to you of how we came up with the song, and what did you think?
Just as I expected. Great work. I'm very happy with what you guys did.
Nice.
Now, do you think this is going to help get your message out a bit?
I hope so.
I certainly do too.
Do you have any social media pages that you could tell people about, or do you have a way for people to see your message?
I have a Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah,
Joshua's fight for a kidney, obviously.
Right.
And I'll include little links, or we can include links to the pages maybe in the comments of the video and so on. But I've also included that at the end of the music video too. So
yeah, and we'll definitely
put a link on the
end.
website.
Yep.
I encourage everyone who's listening to just check it out, and even in my research about kidney donors and obviously the challenges for those seeking kidneys, and also that it's not the end of the world to give up and donate a kidney either. I mean, like you said, Josh, your mom has been living with one kidney for how many years now?
Well, so she gave it to me in 2002. So
20
years.
Wow.
20 years, and she's perfectly healthy, been exercising. I mean, everything is, we were talking a bit about that. I know she was talking to my wife, Beth, a bit. And, same thing from watching some TED Talks and things about people that have donated kidneys. It's not, they'll make sure if you go in for screening that everything with you is healthy and ready to go, or they're not going to take a kidney if there's any risks involved in that. So if anybody is interested in learning more about it, it's at least interesting to learn about. So I encourage you to check that out.
You never know when you might need to know that information for another family member too.
It's exactly right.
So it's worth just taking a look and learning about it.
I just found there's another family friend that my mom was just telling me about that now needs a kidney as well. This just happened within the last few weeks, I believe. So it happens, and there's people like Josh out there that need it, and unfortunately Josh is in a difficult position with the type of match that he needs, because it's a very rare. I forget what the term was, Josh. What was the
antibodies?
He's got the special antibodies that prevent him from being a match with many donors. But either way, it's worth to check out and maybe get screened if you're a possible match.
Yep. There's a lot of people out there that have two kidneys that work perfectly fine, that if they can be compelled to do such an awesome thing and donate their kidney, That would, if everybody, if a lot of people could do that, we're so close to growing them in a lab, but we're not quite there yet. And so we need people to, be so gracious and donate their kidney for people like Josh.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess this would be the time to maybe close the podcast episode, but finish with the music video. And Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and I hope that this whatever this podcast can do to help bring more people, make your story more known, make people more aware of kidney donors and so on. So, thank you so much. We hope the song does something, for you and for any others that are looking for a miracle. So, without further ado, here's Miracle Day.
So cut my strings and let me fly. Get me through another night. Someone save me from the other side. Well, it seems to be that the world has got me down. To the world I say, can we try again? Can you spin me up a new day? And when I wake up with a pep in my step and no chip on my shoulder, with a bird who sings to me as the sunrise lights my way, it's my miracle day. Oh, something's gonna, I know you really wanna, something's gonna come my way. My life, the up and downs aren't holding me back today. With the weight on my shoulders, I still wait. And even in the hardest nights, I pull through every time. And nothing's gonna keep me down. A miracle will come in time. Fly, get me through another night. Someone save me from the other side. Well, it seems to be that this world has got me down. To this world I say, can we try again? Can you spin me up a new day? And when I wake up with a pep in my step and no chip on my shoulder, with a bird who sings to me as the sunrise lights my way, it's my miracle